So I'm doing a test. Let me make sure that's on. Let me make sure that's on. Doing a test for this lavalier. Hope you can hear me. I wanted to film the workshop that Sky and I are doing to offer it to people that couldn't be here, because it's going to be that cool. And I bought this device when I was creating videos a while back, and then I kind of stopped doing that. But now I want to keep doing it. I liked it a lot, actually. It was a lot of fun for me. So I'm getting used to this device being like underneath my shirt, and I figured I'd start putting some videos up on YouTube of just like random stuff that I want to share with you that like maybe I'm working on or working through, or that interests me for a while. And I had a couple things written down that I could give away to you, my little gems that I love. So let's start with handstands, because that's like my favorite thing ever. Yeah. So the first thing I do whenever I start handstanding is get up in the morning and do a handstand. Seriously, every single morning I just like pop up into one. I want to say pop up into one, but most of the time I fall over or over kick or something. But getting on my hands first thing in the morning is one of my favorite things to do ever. And so I almost immediately notice my wrists hurt, or they're like really stiff. My core is not tight, so I'm wobbly. My glutes aren't squeezing. I'm not using my feet. I quickly notice all these little tiny things that I've worked on through the year. Over a year, probably 2 years. It's probably been 2 years since I started handstanding. And I do it every single day, multiple times a day. It's the funnest thing. So when I'm actually practicing handstands, the first thing I start with is my wrists. So I just start introducing my wrists into the ground. I heard Cecily from Yoga Detour say that one time, and I was like, that makes so much sense, because you don't want to start with all your weight on your hands at one point when you're not warm yet, right? So you just start introducing your wrists into the ground in any way you feel necessary. I like to come into my end ranges on my wrists. I like to turn my fingers out. I like to turn my hands back and find some flexibility in the fronts of my forearms. And then I saw this one from Laura Hyman, stretches the myofascia on your back. So you lift your heel of your hand off the ground and leave your fingertips there. Start to bend your elbows down towards your knees. And then exhale, create that cat in your spine. Breathe here. I also like to sit back on my toes. That's always a good practice. You can even come up, spread your toes wide here, and then bring your knees back down. And then just keep playing with the wrists. I like to stress them in all areas. Sometimes do pails and rails. Today I'm not really feeling that. I'll teach you this later. Shaking my wrists. A lot of the stuff that we do works the front of the forearms. So I like to also flick my wrists. And so it's like you're flicking water off the ends of your fingers. And you pull your shoulders up, back, and down while you're doing this, so they're not all the way up in the ears, crunching the neck up. And you should probably start feeling pain in your toes. I'm already, but I try to ignore it. Maybe try pushing your toes into the ground. Keep breathing here. Hold your belly in. I like doing this because I rock climb a lot too. Rock climbing, we're pulling, so we got to work that extension. Awesome. Shake it out. Don't know how long that was. Doesn't really matter. Go until you feel it, and then go way longer than that. All right. So the wrists are warmed up. You can always do some downward facing dogs. Do some core exercises. And when you're doing downward facing dog, this is a good way to get your shoulders warmed up. Don't think about dumping into your shoulders so that you kind of come into this tabletop almost. Think about pushing through your shoulders to get your hands as far away from your sit bones as possible. I'm sorry if this is really loud. This thing is like hanging down right in my face. But hey, whatever. It's my first time. I'll fix it. So, push through your shoulders and then allow your shoulders to kind of draw down your back and then push through again. So you find your scapula kind of moving up and down in your shoulder blades, retracting and then protracting. And so that protract is really what we need for our handstands, pushing the ground away from you. My old teacher, Jason, he's not old. My teacher, Jason, he taught us, fuck you, floor. Say, fuck you, floor, and push the floor away from you as far as possible. Yeah, that was a good one. Another thing you can do to practice that is just come into like a tabletop or a plank position and allow your shoulder blades to come together behind you. Really drop your chest through, keep your elbows as straight as possible, and then push your shoulder blades away from each other and round between them. Find your trapezius. And then again, come through and then push. And so you can do these. The more weight, obviously, the harder it is. Awesome. You can do those like 10, 15, 20 times, whatever, until you fall over. It doesn't matter. Just practice them. That'll really help your shoulders. And then, what is next? So we didn't even talk about the grip. One of the most important parts of a handstand is your grip. So when you're gripping into the ground, grip like you want to fall off the side of a mountain. Like literally, like you're a cheetah and you're trying to kill your mat. It's all in the hands. So if you're pressing down with the hands, think about pressing this flexion motion right here. Pressing the hands down. You can even practice it and really practice pressing, keeping the heel of the hand down. The middle of your fingers may come up, but your fingertips are going to be pressing down into the floor. So here's how I jump into a handstand. You know what core to do. I'm not going to show you that. Just do some core, fire your core up. I'll do a core video another time. So press your hands into the ground, lift up into your downward facing dog, and then step your feet in so it's like a short down dog. Your feet should be pretty close to your hands here. Draw your shoulders over your hands. So you can really focus on this motion. If you bring your knees down, keep your shoulders over your hand, and then lift your hips up towards the sky. Feel your hands pressing into the ground, your fingertips pushing. Find that flexion in your wrists. You can do that a couple of times. Bring the knees down, keep the knees hovering on the toes, and then you press and lift your hips, pull your navel in, and come onto the tippy toes. Press the hands into the ground. If you do that a couple of times, that'll be that push that you need for your handstand. Make sure you're pushing your whole hand evenly into the ground too. That's important. And then last step, you can either inhale, exhale, bend, inhale, lift, do some donkey kicks. And fall over sometimes. Or, second option, while you're here, inhale, take this right leg high, kick the heel out, point the toes, or point them. Just make the leg as straight as possible, and then bounce a couple times on this bottom foot until you can pop into a handstand. Saying fuck you floor and falling out. So it's the fuck you floor, it's the ribs knitted down, the belly pulling in, the inner thighs squeezing together. And what makes it easier is having that knee into the chest for a counterbalance. So if you have any questions, let me know. I have a lot more on handstands, so I'll do another video soon. But until then, thank you. Goodbye.